All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about an animal that, by all accounts, should not be smart. An animal that makes us rethink what intelligence even means. This is the octopus problem.
So, when scientists think about what makes something smart, they kind of have a checklist. And rule number one, you need a big, centralized brain. Well, the octopus? Nope, doesn't have one.
Okay, next up on that list, you're supposed to be social, right? Learn from your family, from your group. But the octopus, it's a total loner.
And the last big one, you need a long childhood. Where your parents teach you the ropes. The octopus, it's born all by itself and dies right after it has babies. It literally has 0 teachers.
So it has none of the stuff we thought was absolutely essential for intelligence. And yet, this animal solves puzzles. It plans for the future. It can even recognize different people. How is that possible?
That's the big question, isn't it? How can this be? Well, it turns out this creature doesn't just bend the rules we've set for evolution, it completely shatters them. So look, this really lays out the whole conflict, right? On one side, you've got the scientific blueprint for what a smart animal is supposed to look like. And on the other, you have the octopus, checking exactly 0 of those boxes. It shouldn't be this smart.
And I really can't overstate how much of an underdog this creature is. I mean, it's an invertebrate, totally soft-bodied. It lives for maybe a year or 2 tops. It's completely solitary, no family, no one to pass down knowledge. Its whole life is this incredibly short, intense burst of learning everything from scratch, all on its own.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what the octopus doesn't have, but now let's get to the good stuff. Let's look at what it can do, because the evidence for its mind, it's just astonishing, and this is all based on years and years of real scientific observation.
Just listen to this story. It's wild. Scientists at one lab noticed fish were going missing from a tank. Turns out, an octopus in another tank was escaping every single night, crawling across the floor, sneaking into the other tank to steal fish, and then, get this, crawling all the way back to its own tank before anyone got there in the morning. That is not instinct, people. That is a full-blown heist. It's a multi-step plan that requires memory, navigation, and a serious goal in mind.
And believe me, it doesn't stop there. We've seen them unscrew jars from the inside. They can solve mazes and then remember the solution for weeks. They've even been seen picking up coconut shells and carrying them around to use as a portable fortress later on. That's tool use. That's planning for the future. These are things we thought were reserved for, smarter animals, like primates and birds.
Okay, so the big question is, where is all this brain power coming from? And the answer is, honestly, just as weird as the octopus itself. If you want to understand how an octopus thinks, you basically have to throw out everything you thought you knew about how a brain works.
Get this. An octopus has about 500 million neurons, right? But only about 1/3 of them are in what we'd call its central brain. So where are the other 2/3? They're in its arms. Yeah, each arm is packed with nerve cells. It's almost like each arm has its own little mini brain.
There's a term for this. It's called distributed intelligence. It means the main brain might give a big picture command like, hey, go check out that rock over there. But then the arms themselves take over. They can taste and touch and make their own decisions about how to explore that rock. The arms are literally thinking for themselves.
So just stop and think about that for a second. What would that even be like? To think with your arms. Imagine if your hands had their own opinions, their own way of doing things, but they still worked with you. It's a kind of consciousness that's just so fundamentally alien to our own.
Okay, so this brings us back around to solving the whole octopus problem. We've seen the mystery, we've seen the totally bizarre anatomy, and it turns out the answer isn't really about figuring out the octopus. It's about changing how we think about intelligence.
Because at the end of the day, the octopus problem isn't about octopuses. It's about us. It's about our own biases. If this lonely, short-lived animal that literally thinks with its arms can be this smart, well then our definition of intelligence must be broken. It's just way too narrow, way too focused on, us. And that forces us to look at it in a totally new way. For so long, we've pictured intelligence as this ladder, with humans sitting right at the very top. But the octopus shows us that's all wrong. It's not a ladder. It's more like a landscape. A huge landscape with all these different mountains of intelligence, each one a different way of being smart, perfectly suited for its own world.
And once you see it that way, all our old rules just fall apart. It turns out, you don't need a complex society to become intelligent. You can evolve a powerful mind just to solve the problems of being a really clever, solitary hunter.
You also don't need a long life. A brilliant mind can totally bloom, learn everything it needs to know, and solve complex problems in just a very short, intense burst of a life.
And maybe this is the most important lesson of all. Intelligence doesn't have to be like us. Evolution found a completely different path, a whole other way to build a mind that has nothing to do with our own evolutionary journey. Now, this isn't just some cool biology fact. This discovery has huge, real-world consequences. It forces us to ask some really tough questions about how we see ourselves and our place on this planet.
So, if we finally accept that a creature without a backbone can be intelligent, that it can be sentient, and by the way, some countries like the UK have already made that a legal reality, what then? What does that mean for us? How do we justify keeping them in a tiny, boring tank or eating them? It's like the science is moving so fast and our ethics are struggling to keep up.
In the end, I think the octopus teaches us a massive lesson in humility. It's a reminder that our brain is just one way of thinking, not the only way. It proves we aren't the only thinkers on this planet, not by a long shot. And that leaves you with this incredible, kind of awe-inspiring thought. The world is full of different minds, and we're only just starting to say hello.